I'm Sam Mitchell, and these are my stories. Hi, folks, how good day? Today, first welcome you to Autism Rocks and Rolls. Now, before we get into I'm not a psychiatrist. If you're not diagnosed with autism, please see a physician. I only speak based on my experiences. I also write to the intro and outro that I found on ytmp3.com. I should also mention I am selling t-shirts and hats for only $20. Be sure to get yours today. A podcast I do need to talk about is the All Abilities No Filter podcast. The All Abilities No Filter podcast is acknowledged. Check out All Abilities No Filter if you work in autism education or care. As candidate interviews with clinics who are living with the condition. But I think the host, Jake Edgar, wants to talk about it right now. So, Jake, take her away.
What happens when passionate educators, therapists, and parents come together with the mics on? You get All Abilities No Filter, a podcast that goes beyond buzzwords and gets into the heart of what it means to advocate for people with disabilities. Real talk, real stories, real impact. Check us out wherever you listen to podcasts and join a community that believes in doing it together and doing it better. All Abilities No Filter is brought to you by Springbrook Autism Behavioral Health.
All right, folks, we're back, and be sure to check out their podcast right now. That's all because I also have the mission to interview with all of you. The mission of Autism Rocks and Rolls is to take the stigma off of autism and other conditions that make our disabilities. People with spectrum are not broken and do not need to be fixed. Those who have conditions or just want to be pitied, there's nothing to be sorry about. I do have some pay for the following. I'm particularly grateful for Night Owl, Dean Kelly for their amazing brain abilities and their considerate donation of teas to the poker run. This is the only one of the many reasons I went to draw attention to them. Night Owl Promotions has been in business in Spencer and Ellettsville, Indiana for 20 years. This family-run company employs the most gifted and dedicated individuals. For all your promotional products needs, go to Night Owl Promotions. I should also just go into the Moose Lodge in Bloomington. Dr. Hayne Wilson, who established the initial established Moose home in the Louisville, Kentucky area in 1888, may have been the group's founder. The main objective of the Moose, when it initially opened, was to provide a space for men to gather, socialize, and have a good time. You can partake in a variety of activities at our nearby lodges, either alone or with other people. The Moose hosts a wide range of events, including sporting events, concerts, Christmas celebrations, and elegant dining. Check it out for yourself now. I do have some people I like to thank. My friends have been doing awesome lately. I say this because first my friends Kay McEllen, C305, Movie Maps with Kay McEllen for more information, and Ryan Steiner, C238, Running with Colin by Ryan Steiner for more information, did an Autism Digest interview. Also, my friend Avery Dixon, C323, Finding Life with Avery Dixon for more information, appeared on the Mayor's Got Talent 20th birthday celebration. Last but not least, the incredible Temple Grandin C124, Pictures on the Ranch from Temple Grandin for more information, has a new documentary called An Open Door that is on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. I am so happy all these people are doing well, and be sure to check them out. Several weeks ago, we went down to Pontiac, Illinois to our board president Steve Jasuski's guest house for the lip sync concert and the Pontiac Summer Concert. We got to see some old friends, and we had some new ones too. Thank you, Steve and Michael, for fundraising for us, and to Kyle Scotty and Aaron Newsome for being our performers for the night. The Valiant CEO magazine also featured me. Feel free to take a read. Plus, I have not one but two new Autism Rocks and Rolls podcast hijack series out. The first is over ADHD coach Samuel Ryder. As an ADHD coach, Mr. Ryder says people with autism are learning to manage their behavior. He claims that he tries to keep the means as casual as possible. The other episode is about disability advocate Thomas, or TJ Moon. Young adult TJ Moon has faced numerous challenges throughout his life. He talks, has a company of his own, and has a college degree. He grew up in foster care and had cerebral palsy, yet he was adamant about succeeding. Thomas's viewpoint is influenced by his experiences living with a medical condition and in foster care. He infuses any speaking engagement with a healthy dose of realism by drawing on his personal experience. To bring attention to issues impacting children and individuals with disabilities, he has made a trip to the state capitol. Thomas also gives speeches at conferences, professional associations, parent groups, and other gatherings. Check out to see how these two people are helping in the United Kingdom and America. That is not all because I have a new blog called My King. Be sure to read my ode to my best friend. I also went to some motivational speaking and personal development at the Ultimate Speaker event. I did learn some new information about the business side of public speaking. Iman Aghay and Masha Nova deserve special recognition for setting this event up and letting me come. Finally, despite being extremely busy, I did appear on several podcasts. They are the Managing Mental Health podcast with Jamie Hughes, the Transcenders New Perspective for a New Era podcast with Peter Michael Deeds, the Hashtag No Limits podcast with AR friend Shelly Keno, the Madman Plant podcast with Stefan Walter, the Rise and Shine Vincennes podcast with Dustin James Fuller, and the Out of the Blue, the podcast with Vern West and his co-host, Jackie West. What a cool group of podcasts, everyone. My guest today, Jake Edgar, has spent the last 15 years working with children and adolescents with disabilities across a variety of settings, such as managing and running self-contained classrooms, and now directing a residential care program as a director of education at Springbrook Autism Behavioral Health. He's also the founder of the Carolina Special Education Advocacy Group, where he helps families navigate the IEP process and advocates for individuals with disabilities. Like me, Jake is the host of the podcast I've been mentioning, the All Abilities No Filter podcast, which is a laid-back, real-talk space where conversations focus on supporting and advocate for people with autism and other disabilities. Outside of work, Jake enjoys spending time with his wife and their therapy dog, Cooper, who works alongside with him to support children. He loves cooking, traveling, being outdoors, and making the most of every moment while not at work. Let's welcome the incredible Jake Edgar. Mr. Edgar, how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Sam. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited.
Not a problem. So my first question to you is, what does working with people who have autism mean to you?
I can't tell you that there's probably a bigger passion that I have right now. I've been doing it for about 15 years. It's basically the only job I've ever had out of college. It's the only field I've ever worked in. It is probably the most fun job I've ever gotten to do. It's how I've built some of the best relationships I've ever had with some of the coolest people I've ever been able to meet, and just being able to be an advocate and just really just a person that this population can kind of look to for help or just any type of support has been just fantastic.
What do you think was the calling?
Oh, man. Everybody's got an origin story, right? So I think in high school, I'll never forget my 9th grade year, we had a class where you kind of had to go shadow different professionals. I volunteered to work in one of our transition independent skills courses. It's a self-contained classroom. I did that all 4 years in high school. I loved it so much. I really didn't have any plan to go into special education or this field when I started, but after working with them, that is kind of what I chose to do. And I've been doing it since I was probably 15 years old.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people go into special education after working with those type of kiddos.
Oh, without a doubt. I had opportunities to work with Special Olympics, with different camps. I never felt more comfortable. I never felt like I was getting more out of it than when I was working with that certain population.
So what are your initial thoughts when you decided you were going to work with people who are on the autism spectrum?
Well, I went in not centralizing around that population. Like I said, I went into special ed, working, just kind of wanting to work with everybody, every kid that has any type of need for help or any type of disability. And then in my first year teaching, I had a class that had a primary diagnosis of autism. And it really just fascinated me because before I had the chance to really dive into it, I was falling victim to the stereotypes of autism, not wanting any type of social connection where you have to walk on eggshells around every kid. But as I was getting kids in my classroom, I was learning they're all different. I'm having to form independent relationships all the time. And it was just fascinating to me because it was just starting over every time I got to work with a new one. The field of autism is just something where I felt like I was going to be able to work with such a diverse group of adolescents, kids, and even adults. That's kind of where I landed, where I am now, where I get to work with getting to strategize with different accommodations and modifications and getting to learn as I go almost and really get to build new skills. That's kind of where I've decided hyper-focused on autism and working with kids on the spectrum.
Hey, like us, you hyper-focus.
That's exactly right. Typically, I'm pretty ADD, just cannot seem to focus on a given task. I'm all over the place. But I'll tell you, working with this population, I've almost picked up strategies from them on how to hyper-focus and how to be able to pick a singular goal and really commit to it. I'm grateful for them, too, because they've taught me more than I've been able to teach them.
Based on what you've seen, how do you think those with autism brains operate?
I think I'm still trying to figure it out now. The way we kind of think about it is because I work with individuals and coworkers that come in not having a lot of experience working with kids with autism or any type of disability. So we kind of have to teach them how the brains work in our experience, because you're always going to come up with something new. The way we want to tell our new employees that we're working with, or anybody I'm working with us in a camp, a lot of the times when working with these kids, they're seeing a lot of things in the black and white. The gray area is something that they're either working on trying to understand, or something that is hard to comprehend. When we're working with our kids and we're teaching others to work, we want to make sure that we're being as concrete as possible. It's where you hit that gray area where things can become hypothetical or abstract. I always kind of use this saying when I'm working with other people is you can't really tell another child with autism, in some cases, again, huge spectrum, to put themselves in other people's shoes. If it's happening to them, do they have firsthand experience with it? Then it's easier for them to understand. So we kind of want our coworkers and the people we're working with to really help our understand maybe their emotions or behaviors or anything from a firsthand experience, asking them like, well, when this happened to you, how did you feel? Instead of asking them, well, how do you think they felt when this happened? We're able to build on developing different coping skills, developing different accommodations or mods that we need.
In a way, you're using their autism towards your advantage. Say yourself, they can't see the gray area, so let's see how they feel.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes the conversations that I have with them are so much easier than I have with other people because they see things how they are. I always want to reiterate, this is not for every. Some kids I talk to where they live in the gray area sometimes, and they're able to be very empathetic and very understand their emotions. Having those types of conversations with them has really helped us to get them to understand antecedents of their behaviors or what's causing the behaviors or understand consequences. It's awesome to create different incentive and reward plans for them because they understand how to work towards goals, very goal oriented, very rule bound.
What is the most rewarding and most difficult part about working with people who have autism?
I think some of the coolest things that we've been able to do is it's not necessarily working with kids and having them make these leaps and bounds in their academics or anything like that. But I think it's when they learn that they can make friendships, they can have appropriate relationships. We'll work with some kids that come in and the relationships they've had in the past, they've been hard. But when you see the kids light up to when they can call a kid another peer friend, or when they look at a staff member and realize that they can trust them or that we totally accept them for their quirks that they have. They do some things that aren't sometimes normal. And when they realize, oh, I can have my quirks, I can do my weird things, and these guys still want to be around me. They think I'm cool for it. They think I'm unique for it. And they're almost able to embrace their uniqueness. They realize that they're not going to have to conform to the everyday expectations of people to succeed. And then after that comes all the other goals, whether that's academic goals or social goals, fall into place.
What advice would you give to those who are considering working with individuals that have autism?
The stereotypes and things like that, where you feel like you got to walk on eggshells, you got to be really careful around people with autism. And for some cases, that is the case, but it's okay just to treat them as normal as possible. I guarantee you they want to have friendships and relationships just as much as you do. When working with them, don't be afraid to let your own personality show, connect with them on similar interests, but treat them as a friend that you would treat anytime. There are triggers you're going to have to work around, and you're going to learn them as you get to know the individual, but it's also okay to mess up. Sometimes you're going to hit a trigger for someone and completely not know what it is, because sometimes triggers get developed. That doesn't make you a bad person. If you just set a kid off, it makes you human. It makes you just part of the norm, but don't let it discourage you from trying to continue to build that relationship, to just see them 30 minutes later, because I guarantee you they don't even remember it. They're just excited to see someone that wants to be their friend.
It doesn't make you a bad person at all. And that stereotype you just mentioned is what I'm trying to work on so hard. They think I'm on the spectrum. Might say a 3-year-old automatically. You haven't even met me yet. Have you watched me order a sub from Subway?
You can't let a stereotype define a personality. If that was the case, I would have missed out on some of the best friendships I have.
Yes, sir. So you want to talk more about your podcast, the All Abilities No Filter podcast. Which discussions or topics do you believe the disability and neurodiversity community most urgently needs at this time And you try to talk about those themes on the All Abilities No Filter podcast.
In our podcast, we have a panel of hosts. We all work together in everyday life. Our core panel consists of myself, and my background is in education in pretty much every setting you can do. We have a behavioral analyst, Dr. Clark, who's on our podcast, along with Hannah and Lily, who are a therapeutic background. We've had occupational therapy, speech therapy, pretty much any background you can think of on the podcast because we all work together. If we have a specific topic we want to discuss, they're literally a walk down the hallway for me to go talk to and get them on the podcast. So we have been able to discuss some certain topics that we feel like have been super beneficial. One of the first ones we kind of discussed were how to handle crisis when supporting those in autism. When I say crisis, I'm talking they've hit a moment in time where verbal de-escalation is no longer an option. Now we're in the situation where we need to protect this individual from themselves and others. In that episode, we discussed the crisis cycle from where it first begins to where they're at baseline behavior to hitting crisis and then what to do after crisis. The individual's not listening because they're in that mode of needing protection. In that episode, we discussed how to, one, keep a child or an adolescent or anybody at their baseline, how to support that baseline. But as the escalation continues and increases, what to do then, and then what to eventually do at crisis, and then what to do during the de-escalation portion of it, because that is a whole situation that needs to be handled almost in steps. In the episode, we are able to get the education point of view of what to do in a classroom, to the home point of view, to behavioral analytics. And one thing we're actually super excited about coming up is we have a educational series coming up, which is my background, which I know is needed by everybody. And that's starting with the IEP process, the individual education plan. That series we got coming up, we're breaking it down step by step, starting with breaking down the IEP, the sections, what's needed in each section, how to read all the hard words, all the different letters. I mean, like you're going to have IEP, BIP, ISP, all these things that some people don't quite understand. And then we're going to go into talking about services, how to get the best way to go about getting those for your child or whoever you're supporting, to how to handle confrontation during an IEP meeting. We've all been there. We know what those are like, where egos and policies and procedures get in the way of really supporting the students. We have that dropping soon. And we really aim to hit every area that people today are focusing on because we have access to all these different specialists and professionals that we work with on a day-to-day basis. Our podcast really aims to, one, make it as easy to understand as possible, get rid of the jargon, but also hit the topics that our listeners are dealing with on a day-to-day basis.
You'll be very happy to hear this. As far as I know, with my school, I had one battle with them.
That's unique and awesome.
It is. But speaking of something with the meltdowns, C107 meltdowns, autistic style, for more information, do you believe that in the cases where the child has a MySeer 3-year-old and it's meltdowns every day, I've seen on social media and on videos, the parents hold them down. Is that a right or a wrong?
No. In my experience, if the child, anybody, the only time I believe and we teach is if you're going hands-on, there's 3 things you have to answer. 1, is the threat immediate? Meaning, is the physical aggression happening right now? Not threatening it, not, okay, this child has a history of it, so we're going to be proactive. No. Is it immediate? Is it happening? Second thing you have to answer is this person capable? Are they capable of hurting someone else or hurting themselves? For instance, if I have a 5-year-old who is weighing nothing but 35 pounds threatening me, they're not capable of hurting. So I'm not going to go hands-on with them. And the other question is, what's the history of it? Is this child a lot of talk? I've worked with a lot of kids where they're a lot of talk. They're going to tell you different things they're going to do, but they never really act on it. Cases, I'm not going to go hands-on. The only time I'm going hands-on is when that threat is immediate and I know they are capable of doing it. Meaning, I know for a fact now there's a threat of harm, meaning they're going to hurt themselves or they're going to hurt someone else. That's where hands-on with appropriate, safe practice restraints, I believe, should occur. Any other situations other than that, I don't believe physical restraints are needed. I personally don't feel like young kids that are much on the smaller scale should be restrained. It can be traumatizing, especially if there's a past history of trauma. There's a lot of other ways you can handle things to get them out of the way of the trigger, get them to a different room. There are some cases where I have removed the individual from the room and they've taken to another room. They will chase me around the room, or they're just sprinting back and forth. They're wanting to really get rid of that stimuli that they're figuring out.
Are there any dream guests that you want on the All Abilities No Filter podcast?
Where do I start? Of course, you got to start with the GOAT, Temple Grandin. We actually had a conference with her a few years ago where she was able to face of it. Of course, Sam, you going to be on that list? Would love to have you come. We're going to set that up. You got the Netflix stars. Like Tanner, he's a Clemson fan. We're up here in South Carolina. That's where I went to school. That's where he's from. So he's got to be on that list just for that shared aspect there. We've been able to work with so many fantastic people.
Pick 3 words. What 3 words would you use to best characterize the All Abilities No Filter podcast?
I would say first one is inclusive, because we try to hit on every different level, whether that's coming from an educator's point of view, a parent's point of view, a clinician's point of view, but also the self-advocate, those individuals on the spectrum, because they're living a daily life. They understand it better than anybody, and we have them at the ready to come on. The second one is in the title. It's unfiltered. We talk about the issues that sometimes are difficult to talk about. Sometimes they're uncomfortable. We just put out an episode on sexualized behaviors and how to handle those in individuals with autism. That's a tough topic. Sometimes during the recording, I was squirming in my seat a little bit, and they're difficult to talk about. They're hard, but we don't shy away from those because it's not always rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes you see on social media parents working with their child with autism, and it looks awesome, amazing. They're hitting all their goals, and that's amazing. We love to see that type of content because it gives encouragement, it gives hope, but it's not always pretty. You do have to restrain. Sometimes parents are getting their hair pulled. Sometimes they're just burnt out. We just put an episode out on how about compassion fatigue, because it's real. I mean, sometimes you're just so exhausted from caring so much. And the next one I would kind of say is easy to understand. We work with parents all the time, with the children that we work with all the time. We know what things are difficult to understand, what jargon is really hard to understand if you're not trained in the background or you don't have years of experience. We want it to be a conversation. We don't want it to be super formal, super structured. We have these conversations all the time on ways to support these kids, ways to create treatment plans. And we kind of decided, well, we're talking about it all the time at work. Let's just record ourselves and get this out to the world.
Right. I know someone who shall remain nameless, but the person on this social media post and her video blog refuses to let any negative content down. And I'm thinking, you're walking around eggshells. That's not right.
No.
I know you showed us the scars, but show the person in action having it.
Exactly.
And I do the same thing with my Facebook group. One day I might post something that says, autism is great. Look at him going to get ice cream and grocery shopping. But the next day, it might be a stage 3 meltdown where the child is throwing chairs and punching walls.
And I think that gives people kind of a misconception, especially if you're wanting to go into the field. You need to kind of be aware of you're going to deal with some intense situations sometimes. And I feel like people aren't prepared for that a lot of the time. So when they get to those crisis moments and they see those triggers being going and they see some physical aggression, it can kind of discourage them from continuing to build their skill set because they feel like they weren't prepared for it. We talk about the hard things, but then we want to give solutions. We want to give advice. We want to give strategies, just to give a light at the end of the tunnel point of view as well.
I do want to talk more about Springbrook Autism Behavioral Health. So how may therapeutic and behavioral treatments be balanced with individualized education plans at Springbrook Autism Behavioral Health?
Oh, man. So at the facility, the kids participate in full educational services there, and we are able to work with the IEP from the home school if it's applicable and if we're capable of doing that. But we also are able to create individual service plans for each patient that we get. And we take in information and opinions and strategies from service providers that work in-house with us. We have access to recreational therapists, but also BCBAs, which is a board certified behavioral analyst that works with the teachers, myself, and all the other services on a daily basis, which is so great because if we're having issues in a classroom with a specific behavior and it's out of my realm of specialty, I'm able to walk down the hall, knock on the door, pull one of our behavioral analysts, go over it with them, and they're able to give me different strategies, or they're able to come to the classroom and implement themselves. They're getting points of views and information from several different specialists, including psychiatrists. So we have physicians on house too, able to help us with that. With our service plans, they're able to cover areas that I really wish we were able to do when I worked in a public state school.
Could you discuss the value of early intervention at Springbrook Autism Behavioral Health? Because when I looked on your website, you guys hardcore promote early intervention.
Oh, absolutely. So we will get patients and kids and students from all over the country at all very young ages. We'll get patients that are showing signs of the spectrum or tendencies or, again, those stereotype things. And when they come to us, that kind of intervention starts right off the bat. They are meeting with all of our specialists, conducting assessments, conducting different observations to ensure this child is on the spectrum, because we don't want a misdiagnosis to happen. We are able to start from just the ground level to structure these interventions, these accommodations, these strategies around this very young 5-year-old. And then as they progress, we're able to shape that plan around them to where we're not keeping things stagnant, keeping things the same, because they're going to develop, they're going to improve, they're going to progress. So we have to do that with them at the same time. We also have an acute unit as well, which is more of a stabilization unit, to where they're getting even more intensive interventions. And once they are able to establish that baseline of what's working for them and understanding their own individualism, which is what we do, then as they get older and build further skills, are able to progress in their own objectives and goals, that plan is able to adapt with them and understand and continue to challenge them and continue to leave room for improvement. And it has to be adaptable, but adaptable to their individualism.
Kind of like what I said on my previous episode in D330, only upon more information. Everyone's following the same plan when a professional is involved.
Whoever's creating the plan, whether it's a behavior intervention plan, a service plan, it's the roadmap that we've decided. That's what we've all agreed on. That will work. It's imperative that anyone working with this individual is following that plan. Otherwise, it can't be concrete. If it's changing day to day because people are changing the plan, it's very difficult for them to understand it.
You also are the founder of the Carolina Special Education Advocacy Group. What special education needs or gaps do you think the Carolina Special Education Advocacy Group is attempting to fill?
I started that back in 2021, and it really started from what I'm doing now at Springbrook, because I'm working with parents all over the country, but the needs for the educational services and the frustrations are all the same. At the group, we focus on providing that advocacy, breaking it down for the parents so they understand, because they're not all going to get the IDEA. They're not going to get what things they're entitled to. It's a lot of information, and they're already dealing with so many other different things. So what we kind of do is just go in and be that support system. We have it figured out. We know it. We have the back. So we're there to answer every single question, but also help them develop a way of preparing for things. It's like an IEP is a lot. That's 365 days worth of stuff in one doc. That is a ton. So we're kind of working with them on understanding that procedure, what their rights are, how to request things, but also how to develop the positive relationship. An IEP is a 365-day document. We should be communicating with that team all year round. If you're waiting for that one day during the IT meeting to be your only communication, you're always going to run into issues because you're not getting your update. The teacher is not understanding the parents' expectations, and then it comes off as a battle. But if we open that line of communication, and sometimes an advocate is needed for that, then the teacher is aware of parents' expectations. They can problem solve together. They can develop a supportive relationship. If you're only seeing each other once a year, and then all of a sudden you're talking about what's being done, what you want done, what can be done, what your limitations are, it turns into a fight. It turns into a confrontation. But if you're getting updates throughout the year, you're building that trusted relationship, that's huge. That's going to eliminate a lot of issues. What we kind of do is we want to almost be a mediator a little bit for the relationship and help them build that to where a parent feels comfortable asking for updates, asking for how they're doing. And a teacher also feels that they can provide these updates without feeling that they're being judged as a teacher, even if it's a negative update. What we want to do is, one, educate parents, make sure they're just as prepared as we would be in an IEP, but also how to develop the relationship and the positive, encouraging relationship between the IEP team and the parent, because that's more important than anything.
Okay, I probably should ask this. Despite me being on the spectrum, I should know what it is, but what is IDEA?
Your IDEA is pretty much what you're going through the educational process. It is what that student has the right to. You're going to hear terms like least restrictive environment. No matter the situation, that child needs to be able to be put in the classroom that best suits them, no matter what obstacles they fall into. Their school day needs to be accommodated to them. For example, they might need their assessments broken down into chunks. A simple one could be there can be no more than 5 questions on a piece of paper, because that's easy for them to understand. You are just ensuring their school and their educational plan is accommodated to them. It is what they need. They're not just getting the general package that every student gets at the school, because we can't expect every kid to learn at the same rate. That's impossible, whether you are diagnosed with a certain disability.
So in retrospect, it's a letter that's telling the teacher, you better do this or we're going to have a problem.
It's a law. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak to the logistics of it. But what it is every special education teacher is aware of it. In college, I was trained on it. And that comes from putting different accommodations and mods in their IEP, from structuring their school day, whether they're in a self-contained classroom, a resource classroom, or a completely alternative placement, similar to what we do at Springbrook. We are considered an alternative placement. We are what some kids need particularly.
What distinguishes the Carolina Special Education Advocacy Group strategy from that of other organizations? What are you doing that other organizations aren't doing, but are doing the same thing you are doing?
I think, and I've had the opportunity to work with other advocates that work in different organizations. We are such a personal approach. We mainly serve the upstate here in South Carolina. We help understand their individual process. We attend the IEP meeting if requested. What's really important to me is we're not taking on so many different cases that we're not able to give a hard amount of time to. We only take on certain caseloads so that we are really able to get the parents through the IEP process, through any type of advocacy they need. Because if we're focusing on 10 different cases at once, we're giving 10% of our attention. We want to give 100% of our attention to the parents. We want to be available to them. We want to be able to answer questions. There are others that do a fantastic job, and I encourage parents to reach out to anyone that specializes in this just to get some type of information.
I do want to talk more about autism in the classroom. What in your opinion are the essential components for a student with autism to achieve academic success?
I think in the classroom, it really focuses on what do we know about that child. We are going to focus on their strengths, not their limitations. I think if we focus on things such as, if this happens, then they're going to have a meltdown. If this happens, we really need to focus on, they can do this. This is what they need. This is the challenge they need. They are so capable of this. So now let's form the environment around how we're going to accomplish it. If we're just catering to the negative, we're just catering to their trigger, removing everything to avoid that negative behavior or to avoid distraction, it's okay with challenging them. It's okay with putting them in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation, because how are they going to grow from it? Sometimes it takes for them to, instead of working away from the group in a corner by themselves, it's okay with putting them at a table with one other person. We're building on being able to adapt to situations. So I do feel like we need to focus on what they're capable of and where we want to get them, opposed to how can we avoid all this negative from happening. We don't want to just cater to that to get them through. Then you just turn into a babysitter almost. We need to maintain appropriate behavior. We need to maintain baseline. That is our goal. But as educators, we need to get them to a point. And if we're just constantly focusing on what not to do to avoid a situation, then we're not focusing on what to do to get to the next step. And sometimes you're going to have to deal with a meltdown, a breakdown. Once we get back down to baseline, then we can look at what didn't work and adjust, but we can't change the goal. We can't change where we want to be just because we're afraid of what could happen. The student also needs to learn that. They need to learn, I can function in these situations with these modifications and adaptable skills that I'm being taught.
Well, let me ask you this then. How can incorporating hobbies into the classroom help students with autism get ready for life after school? We know why it's important during school, but why should we do it for the after?
Probably one of the simplest things is what we did with a kid we were working with. He's very young, and we're working on goal-oriented rules. We're trying to get him to understand how to work towards something. And he is obsessed with monster truck. So what we did something super simple. We took a progress chart and poster. All it is it's a hill, and he gets to move his monster truck up the hill every time he hits a certain goal. Loves it. And he gets to look at it all day. But then with some older kids and a little bit more capable kids we want to incorporate vocational skills, something they love to do. We have tons of kids that are super interested in engineering, different STEM activities. It's up to us as the educators to go out of our way to find certain online curriculums, technical curriculums that involve everyday math skills or something, but we're looking at it more through a engineering aspect of it. Or we got kids that love cooking. That's endless times you can teach measurement. What we also do is we ask the student, What do you want to do? What do you want to learn how to do? One lesson or one group will teach is they get to work on their standard curriculum that they're working on, their math, their ELA, but then they get a break to work on coding. They're working towards that ability to work on their coding and work on aspects of that. We want to be able to develop vocational skills and job training and things like that, of course. But the easiest thing is, again, to ask the student, hey, what do you want to work on? What do you want to learn? And you just incorporate that somehow. And if that means you just spend a little less time on 3-digit addition, then that's okay. Because one, we're working on their pace, but two, we're keeping them motivated and we're keeping them focused.
Sometimes you have to give in a little bit. From your eyes, what is the most important accommodation every student with autism should have? Is it extra time on test? Is it a resource room? Is it a 5-minute sensory break?
I think probably the most frequent one we have, it's simple as multiple attempts on things. They know, okay, I failed this assessment. I didn't do too hot on it. They automatically know they get another shot at it. I do feel like multiple attempts on things should be on everybody's. I would have loved knowing that kind of stuff in school. It takes pressure off. They know they can learn from what they're doing. And they feel like they got one chance to be perfect. That puts up stress on anybody. I would crumble under that expectation. But also to know that 100% is not what we're looking for. Sometimes we're wanting to get 70, 80%, and then we'll work towards that 100%.
People really need to see a step is a step.
Yeah, a win is a win. Actually, I had an episode on that, is look for the small wins. I was telling one of my teachers, if you have a child that refuses their classwork 100% of the time, but then they had 1 week where they only refused 90%, that's a win. That's cause for celebration. Quit looking perfection and expect progression. That's what I try to tell the teachers.
Now, folks, we wrap back. We're here for our friends, the Bluebirds. So let's get to it. Have you ever wondered what is the most fun thing to do in Bloomington, Indiana? If you do not know, I have the answer for you, because it is time to bring your best dance moves to the Bluebird in Bloomington, Indiana. This rock club does not only host live music, but has karaoke nights as well. Please visit the Bluebird at 216 North Walnut Street, Bloomington, Indiana 4704. If you have any questions, please contact them at 812-336-398. I repeat, that is 812-336-398. Or leave them an email at their email address, dkubayak1@gmail.com. That is spelled DKUBIAK1@gmail.com. This is the place to be if you want to have a great time. I can promise you that. All right, folks, we're back, and yes, there might be a Bluebird at the Bluebird. So one of the things I know Springbrook also talks about, Jake, is routine change. And C106 daily changes more information. Why are routines especially important for people on the autism spectrum? I know why, but why is it to you?
Routine is huge for the kids that we get to work with. Routine builds stability. It builds structure, which in my opinion, everybody needs. I love a good routine. I like knowing what my day is going to consist of. I love knowing what I'm supposed to do. But with these kids, building that stability and that structure is huge. Their schedules with us are broken down and extremely specific, but they know where to go to, what's coming up next. Those surprises and those interruptions, we try our best to keep at a minimum. And if they are happening, these kids are getting 15, 20-minute preparation for that change. There are aspects like having a fire drill. That's an unexpected change, and we see what happens with that. That's sensory overload. Something as simple as, hey, a snack is supposed to come at 10:30 and it comes at 10:35. You're going to have about 5 minutes of de-escalation you're trying to do, because these kids are expecting this schedule to be maintained, because it is what makes them feel comfortable and what makes them feel safe. Also want to teach them how to maintain their own schedule, how to maintain their own routine. The end goal is for them to leave us and be able to become functional members of society, and able to do that and able to hold down a job, hold down relationships. You're going to have routines and schedules that you have to maintain, but it also just makes your day-to-day life easier to understand and to follow. When you know what's happening, you know how long something is going to take. You're not focusing much more of what's coming next. The kids are able to focus on what we're doing on in that moment. For having a structured schedule and it's time for their occupational therapy group, they're focusing on that group for 45 minutes and not what's going to come next, because they already know what's coming next. It's their lunchtime or it's their school time or speech groups coming up.
And we wouldn't need a routine if the role wasn't unknown.
Well, I do feel unprepared. I do feel like I can't give my all in it. Like I feel like I'm pretty good winging things and speaking off the cuff, but I know I can give my 100% when I'm prepared for something.
What can families do if the routine is altered and it bothers the person with autism so bad it's a breakdown?
No matter how hard we try, we can have There's usually some type of breakdown in the schedule. We're prepared for those. We're even prepared for the crazy unprepared things is what we try to be. When we do hit those certain marks where kids, their schedule has been interrupted and we can see that escalation, first thing first is we know what the trigger is. We have to get back on schedule as quick as possible. The number one schedule breakup we see is snack time because everybody loves their snack. If snack is delayed or the snack hasn't come down quick, we do have snacks prepared that we can just go here and keep it on schedule. Or if something unseen has happened and a group starts late or something like that, and we see the kids starting getting antsy, we have prepared activities for them to do until the scheduled group is supposed to start. If you just let a kid, whether they're on the spectrum or not, just sit there and wait for their routine to get back on track, where you're going to see that self-stimming, that are looking for something else to engage in. And sometimes that can be negative. Sometimes that can be pulling a fire alarm, drawing on the walls, whatever it is. But you have to be prepared for the interruptions. And a lot of that time is just taking that stimuli that they're feeling that my schedule is not happening and move it to something a little bit more constructive, coloring a picture, reading a book, doing physical exercise or something just to distract them until that schedule is ready to get back on track.
So essentially what you're saying is keeping their mind going is the tool?
You're exactly right. I think boredom is our worst enemy. If we allow these kids to get bored, they're going to find things to do. And sometimes it's not what we want them to do. Be able to take their mind that's focusing on what's going wrong and move it to something that they do, a preferred activity. It's not bribing a kid to say, if they have a tantrum because their schedule's wrong, and to look at them and go, hey, let's go play basketball. Let's go take a walk. You're not bribing them with something.
I do want to talk to you more about your personal life a little bit. One of those things I know is you got a therapy dog named Cooper. How'd you end up getting Cooper?
My wife and I got him about 3 years ago. And I actually had a dog, Carolina. She was an older dog. She was a therapy dog as well. She traveled everywhere with me. We got Cooper. And there's nothing better than being able to bring your dog to work with you every day. He went through the process and I get people tell me all the time, you just never see a dog that's been so naturally able to work with these kids, and he loves it. He comes to work and just loves seeing everybody, loves seeing the kids. He's just become part of the family at Springbrook. We have other therapy dogs there as well, but Coop, he's just been able to just thrive there. He's been doing that for probably going on a year and a half, almost 2 years now. Yeah, he's been pretty awesome. He's shown up on the podcast a couple of times, but we just love him.
What training did Cooper have to go through to become a therapy dog?
He went through what's called the Alliance for Therapy Dog Training. They're through the AKC certification process there. It wasn't too difficult. It requires a lot of observations, a lot of assessments, but before going through all his therapy training, also went through behavioral training, pretty intensive behavioral training as well. So he was pretty prepared for his therapy dog assessments and training he was made to do. I take him to work, to any camps or organizations I'm working with. He's right by my side all the time.
That's what you call a man's best friend right there.
Oh, without a doubt. My bud.
Now, folks, we'll be right back with my dad and C113, Father and Son Chef. More information is going to tell us about the Harley Davidson of Bloomington, Indiana. So, Dad, take her away.
It's official. Harley Davidson of Bloomington is a sponsor to Autism Rocks and Rolls. Located on Gordy Pike in Bloomington, they take pride in providing the best selection of both new and used motorcycles. This Harley Davidson cherishes the chance to build a lasting relationship with its clients. This is done by going above and beyond your expectations. An example is they give you the chance to take your dream motorcycle for a test run. Like every Harley Davidson dealer, there are not only motorcycles, but they also have legendary Harley Davidson t-shirts and helmets. If you are a motorcyclist, stop at one of their events, such as Bike Night or the Poker Run we are hosting. Be sure to drop in for a cup of coffee or give them a call at 812-333-8300. That's 812-333-8300. As they say, it's a lifestyle and it's a family.
All right, folks, we're back, and you might meet Harley Davidson there. You never know. Something you said in your bio is you love to cook. What is a cooking hack you wish people knew more about?
Keep it simple. You don't need 20 different ingredients. Find an ingredient that you love, it tastes great, and cook something around it. My wife, she's not a cook. She'll be the first one to admit it. I just tell her, I was like, you love this ingredient, let's just cook around it. Most of the things I cook have 5 or 6 ingredients. The second thing, if you like doing it, just try it. It's trial and error. I've made plenty of things that are gross and just did not work. I love doing it, and my wife loves it. She married someone that takes care of that part of it. But cooking can be intimidating, just like working with kids with autism. You feel like you got to know all these different skills, and no, you don't. Like, watch a video, read a cookbook. The more you put in it, the harder it is going to get it to taste good, and have fun with it.
What's the grossest thing you cook?
I tried to make bread the other day, and as a bread I've never tried to make. I don't know if I substituted the salt for the sugar or dough. I didn't cook it long enough. So it was like eating salty goo. But you live and you learn. The next bread I cooked tasted great because I learned what I did wrong. I encourage anybody to do it.
Also a traveler, what is your dream destination to go to one day?
Oh, man. I have been blessed to go all over the world. I know my wife and I dream of going to Thailand. She's all about elephants. She graduated from the University of Alabama. I still married her, but their mascot's an elephant, and she always watches these videos of swimming with elephants in Thailand. I think that's going to probably be our next big trip. Is can scratch that itch a little bit, and I'm super looking forward to it too. But
well, you have fun with those elephants. Just don't take my dad because he's scared of elephants.
I'm not super comfortable with them, but I love my wife enough to where I will get around an elephant for her.
That is
yes, sir.
So you also are an outdoors person. From your perspective, what can the outdoors give you that nothing else can?
I think solitude sometimes is a good thing. We have different hobbies. She's not a huge outdoors person, so a lot of the stuff I'll do with Cooper, or I do it on my own, but I work with a lot of people all the time. I'm around people all the time, people I love to be around. I'm a very social person. I love to be able to talk to people. But as you know, this field and working with this population can get overwhelming sometimes, and that's okay. Sometimes I feel so burnt out and just so overwhelmed with things, I have to get by myself a bit. So going hiking, going kayaking, going bike riding, mountain climbing is just to focus on a singular thing you're doing and to be alone and to really recharge a bit. But what I feel like the solitude and the time to reflect, the time to understand what's going on, to kind of release it a little bit is huge. And you have to take care of yourself, because if you're working in this population, it's wonderful, but it is overwhelming sometimes. You get burnt out if you allow yourself.
Right. I think that's what the outdoors does for me and my uncle too. It shows us a place where no one's around. And I think sometimes, although we're social creatures, we don't want to be all the time.
Absolutely. Being
you
by
have
myself.
A person in your ear 24/7, or you're going to kill someone.
Without a doubt. You take 2 to 3 hours out of your day a week just to sit in your own thoughts, and really you almost have time to reflect on why you're doing this again, because sometimes you do have the mindset of, why did I really make the good decision of going into this, and being able to reflect on all the positives that has happened that week or that month, that awesome accomplishment one kid made, and just being able to there and think about it and not have another responsibility pop up is huge.
So we'll wrap her up here, and these are just for some fun questions. So Jake, what's your parents' meal or favorite food, and why is that your favorite?
Oh, man.
Not to make, to eat.
Oh, Thai food. Give me some pad Thai or any type of Thai food or Vietnamese food. I'm all about it.
I need to try pad Thai. The problem is they have peanuts on it. I just need to find a peanut-free pad Thai, and I'm allergic because.
Oh, just tell them to keep it off, man. They'll make it for you.
So what is your favorite movie or TV show? Why do you like it?
Oh, wow. All right. Favorite movie's got to be Gladiator, the original from 2000. I think it's the best movie ever made. TV show, it's probably Ted Lasso on Apple TV. I'm waiting for that next season for them to come out, but I deal with enough stressful stuff throughout the day. Ted Lasso, and that show is it just makes you feel good, and it's just easy to watch.
Well, what is Ted Lasso?
Recommend it. It's about this guy. He was a college football coach. Now he's quit coaching, and he goes to Europe and becomes a soccer coach. Never has coached soccer before in his life. It's just a very lighthearted, great messaging. Makes you feel good watching it.
So what's been your favorite vacation you've ever taken? Why did you enjoy that vacation very much?
I would say I'm a big family guy. My best friends I got 3 brothers and a little sister, and they're my best friends, and hanging out with my parents still. We took a trip to Western Canada a few years back to like Whistler and Victoria, and we all went together and we all spent time with each other. That was really fun. But my absolute favorite vacation was myself and my brothers we did a month-long trip in Europe where we went to Ireland and Budapest and Scotland and Germany. And that was our first vacation we took when we were just all together, just the brothers.
When you went to Canada, did you visit Niagara Falls?
I wish I could. That's on the other side of Canada. I haven't. It's amazing.
I want to
Yeah.
go back to Niagara Falls, Canada for a vacation. I went
Sure.
there for a working trip, but I want to visit there but it's just so touristy and it seems so fun. You could probably not do everything in a week and come back and still do more stuff. That's the type of vacation I've always enjoyed, where you can stay for a little bit. Oh man, I didn't do everything. Let me come back.
Oh yeah, you can do so much stuff. You need to take that trip, brother.
I plan to. I just hope I get my parents on board. They don't like the cold is why. They prefer south than north. Where I'm the type of person who will go anywhere.
Absolutely. I'm right
if
there.
It's the right temperature though. So my final question is, are there any good memories that you want to tell our listeners about? If you do, why do you remember that memory the most? So before you answer, I want something that's sentimental and made you feel good inside, and a funny memory that made you fall on the floor laughing. Could be with your children, Cooper, wife, work. You're calling, you want to answer it, bub.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It was one of the kids we were working with. He had left our program. He had done very well in our program. Started off pretty rough, I'm not going to lie. It was tough with him. And he spent a good while with us. And I'll never forget, I got a letter from him after a long while after he had left us. And I got a letter from him just outlining how work he did with me and the rest of our caretakers just changed his life. He's now married. He's got his own apartment, just doing an amazing job. I'll keep that letter forever. As far as a funny memory goes, I would probably have to say, okay, we were going hiking and it was my family and we had just gotten Cooper. So he was a little overzealous on things. We were passing one of the waterfalls and swimming areas that we had done. And my little brother hates to swim, hates water, doesn't like doing it. But he had climbed up on one of the rocks that were here just to see what was going on. And he was kind of peering out over the rock a little bit. And then Cooper, we kind of let him off his leash a bit. And the first thing he does is he dove right to my little brother, jumps on his back, and you just see my little brother take about a 2-foot plummet right into the swimming hole. And Cooper going with him, and they both get up freaking out about the exact same thing. So you got Cooper flipping out because that was the first time he had ever tried swimming, and you got my little brother who can't stand it. And we should have felt sorry for him, but we spent too much time rolling around laughing. I think he helped my little brother get over his fear of water just a little bit.
I think the little brother's probably thinking, thanks guys, appreciate it, really do.
We weren't very supportive at that moment. Yeah, we know when to laugh at each other.
Well, Jake, thanks for your time. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to say, brother? Maybe tell us where to All Abilities Filter No podcast too.
Absolutely, Sam. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. Yeah, I just hope your listeners know that our podcast, it's All Abilities No Filter. It's available on all platforms, but also I encourage them to go visit our website, allabilitiesnofilter.com. It has all of our past episodes. It has all the resources we talk about, the guest bios that we've had on. You can subscribe to everything from there, but we do have that educational series we have dropping very soon, and I'm super excited about that. I feel like everybody can relate to that. But yeah, we're available on all platforms. Go check us out and send us in questions, reviews. We want to know what the listeners want to know about. We want to know what they're going through so we can cater our episodes towards those specific topics.
And before I forget, why don't you tell us about Springbrook Behavioral Health and where you can find that at?
Sure. Springbrook Behavioral Health, we're a pretty much all-inclusive residential care program for individuals, children, and adolescents with autism. We are a pretty much cover-it-all facility. We really focus on helping the individual, not the group. You can learn about all of our services that we provide at springbrookbehavioral.com. You can find my information there if you need to get in contact, our admissions process, anything like that. But we want to help kids from all over the country. We're tucked in a beautiful area in South Carolina. If you need any further information, reach out there and you find our whole process. But our end goal is to take the kids that need the most help and catering a plan for them, and that works for them.
All right, my friend, if they need you, they'll definitely contact you. I think what you're doing is great. I think your podcast is great. Please check them out, everybody. Have a good day, Jake.
All right, Sam, I appreciate you.
Joining me for this episode. Please tune in for another episode coming in very soon. I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble. Thank you very much.